gender-based violence remains a major problem in Nigeria, despite laws meant to protect women and girls. Information from the National Bureau of Statistics show nearly 3 in 10 women aged 15 to 49 have suffered physical violence. Now, reports of domestic abuse, sexual assault, and harmful practices remain widespread, especially in rural areas. Activists say weak enforcement of the Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act and silence around abuse make the crisis even worse. Of course, many survivors stay quiet out of fear and stigma. In states that have not adopted the VAP Act, campaigners are urging governors and lawmakers to act. They also want the police and courts to treat abuse cases with urgency. Beyond violence, women face deep economic inequality. They dominate the informal workforce but are poorly represented in politics. In 2023, during the elections, fewer than 1 in 10 elected officials nationwide were women. Now, experts argue stronger law enforcement, more education, economic empowerment, and greater female representation are key steps forward in moving our country. Well, for more discussion on gender-based issues in Nigeria, we're now joined by the Commissioner for Education in Anambra State, Professor Ngozi Chuma-Udeh. She joins us now on Newsday. Thank you so much for joining us on Newsday this afternoon. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah. Hi, Kachi. I hope you're good.
I'm very well, thank you. I'm very well, thank you. Now, let's begin with this. You are the Commissioner for Education in Anambra State, Professor Ngozi. And within Anambra State, we see that, interestingly, there seems to be even more women participating in different parts of the governance for the state. Specifically, 5 women appointed as commissioners across education, budget and economic planning, transportation, women and children affairs, and law, the justice system. Talk to me about how being in Anambra State, the governor has tried to push the gender, that's the female gender, forward in these very key positions.
Thank you very much. Mr. Governor, Professor Charles Chukwuma Soludo, CFR, is a gender-sensitive person. And he has a passion for the girl child. He has a passion for the education of the girl child, and he has left no stone unturned. Even in his cabinet, you can see a kind of equilibrium in appointment. The women are duly appointed, and in Anambra State, actually, we have a peculiar case. Because at the educational sector, when you call a meeting of the principals and the head teachers, all you see are women. And we are actually trying to get the men back to the academia in Anambra State. So, and Mr. Governor, again, is, as I told you, is a very sensitive, gender-sensitive person, and he is moving to bring to equilibrium everything about gender. I don't know if I answered your question, Chikachi.
You did. You absolutely did. Now, I would like you to juxtapose this with the rising cases of gender-based violence in Anambra State. I mean, like you rightly said, for a state which has, a governor who is ever so passionate about inclusivity for women, between January and December 2021, the Anambra State Police recorded 38 cases of gender-based violence. We know that since its inception, this specialized magistrate court, which deals with the children's sexual and gender-based violent cases, which is in Oka, has handled at least 40 family violence cases in just 2 months. Of course, we've seen prosecutions as well. And the list goes on. There are several cases amongst the people. So how would you say this leadership pattern is being translated to the grassroots? Who put him in power?
Okay. Gender-based violence is a societal issue. It is not just about Anambra State alone, neither is it about any other. It has no ethnic, there's no geographical location, and it has no ethnic definition. It is there because it is a manifestation of the society. And Mr. Governor, as I told you before, is dealing with it through the provision of skillful education for every single child in Anambra State, be you a woman, be you a man. Mr. Governor is of the opinion that when you educate the boys and the girls, when they are fully equipped, skilled, educationally empowered, it will lessen the burden on each of them and maybe eradicate gender violence. Because gender violence, I must tell you, is caused by a kind of societal, a negative shift in the society. For years, we have been talking about girl child, girl child. Kachi, have you forgotten that the man, being termed the head of the family, is belabored by societal constructs? He has to take care of his family, take care of his siblings, take care of his wife, siblings, take care. It affects the psyche when you imbue on somebody so much things to do, so much activities and so much expectations on a human being, and at the same time, somebody is behind the person, nagging, pushing. So what we are saying is that for Anambra State, yes, we are moving down gradually. Mr. Governor is at it to train skillful, empowered human personas. When people are equipped educationally, I believe violence ceases, because there are certain enlightenments which education imbues to the human soul. And with this comes lesser of this evil of violence.
I couldn't agree more with you. You know, gender-based violence is it's a double-edged sword. It does affect women and it does affect men. And you did speak about the generality of gender-based violence, it not being just an Anambra issue, of course. But, you know, it is still an issue that, you know, I would love us to address based off of the position that you were in. But I'm happy to broaden the spectrum to not just Anambra State, but the East in particular. Now, in the year 2014, there was a landmark ruling by the Supreme Court in the case of Ukeje versus Ukeje that basically declared null and void the customary law that women were not permitted to inherit things because of their gender. That case, Ukeje versus Ukeje, declared that null and void. Now, I do know that there are still some customary practices that enable gender-based violence in the East, and I would like to speak about the East generally with Anambra State as a focal point. How would you say the governor is working towards addressing some of these customs that have now become a form of barrier to the growth of women? Because in as much as the issues are male and female, it does affect the women more than it does affect the men most of the time.
Yeah, when you talk about laws, court orders, ordinarily in Anambra State, the inheritance right goes to both the male and the female. But there is a law, a sort of traditional law, that the man Obi belongs to the male child. Apart from that, any other acquired assets goes to the boys and the girls. Equitably. It is done like that in Anambra State, and I believe there are policies to uphold that. So practices, I must tell you, Kachi, is something this kind of traditional practices has come a long way. They have been there enshrined in our lives, and it will take a systematic, very, very systematic and insistent movement of revolution to eradicate them. It is not something you will just wish away with a wave of a hand, because it is something that we were born into, and it is something that we have grown into. But it is something that we see should be changed, and change does not occur automatically. But for Anambra State, I must tell you, such odious traditions are no longer much in practice.
And that's very important because, like you said, these are not things that can just be wished away. And I'm glad that you are now saying that the governor is working very hard to make sure that these things not only do no longer exist, but that a lot of them are no longer in practice. Now, I also know that there's been a lot of conversation about insecurity, especially within, and I would like to just stick to Anambra State. Insecurity within Anambra State, you know, the protecting the importance of protecting the lives and property of women and children. How would you assess the work that has been done in that particular sphere within the last couple of months, I would say?
I must tell you again that Mr. Governor, Professor Charles Chukwuma Soludo, is not resting on his oars. He has placed his hand on the plow and he's not looking back. He has put in strategic security measures, and Anambra State is safer. When he became the governor, more than 8 local governments were under siege. But insistently, he was able to eradicate, combat these things, and enact laws, Anambra State criminal laws. He's able to also bring out 1 or 2 outfits, institute outfits that are battling with this insecurity. Meanwhile, I must tell you again, insecurity is not just a thing of one state. Insecurity does not have a color shade. It does not have a delineation.
Yeah.
And it does, okay.
But you know, the thing is,
in Anambra State, we have the Agone Chamber.
Yes.
And we also have the Udogachi. And Anambra State is becoming crime-free. In fact, Anambra State is the safest state in Nigeria.
It's interesting that you'd say this, because just yesterday, right here on Newsday, we did have a similar conversation around insecurity. And a lot of people would disagree that Anambra is the safest state in Nigeria at this time, saying, bringing in several issues, spate of kidnappings, the sit at home. A lot of people still question why that is even still being put in place within Anambra State. So let's go into specifics. Give us specific parameters. At least you're not campaigning, you are in power, so you can tell us specific parameters that you would say Governor Soludo has used in coming to the conclusion that Anambra is the safest state in Nigeria.
Okay, I told you before that when Mr. Governor took up the mantleship of this governance, more than 8 local governments were under siege. But today, we are working freer. Anambra State, we were able to hold elections. The last election was held in Anambra South, and people conducted elections in Ihiala local government and in other local governments. So, then I told you the institution of Agune Chamber as a complementary to the police force and the army is moving the state towards a safer climb. And just as somebody may argue that Anambra State is not safe, or how many states of the Federation has this person traversed? Has he been to other states?
But we're not talking about other states, because if we're going, are you now basically telling people in Anambra State that the yardstick for which they should put a governor in power is understanding that because it is done in other states, so we should also understand it can be done in our state? Also, with regards to the vigilante group you're mentioning about,
not.
You do remember that just last week, there was an assault on a female copper as well by a vigilante group. So how do you rationalize that?
Kachi, sometimes things do happen out of either accident or mishap. The case of the copper has been well taken care of. The people who are involved have been nabbed and they are in police custody. The society is a place where the positive and the negative live together. And I am telling you, Mr. Governor is doing his best to secure the state, and the state is secure. If the state is not so secure more than other states, we will not be here walking around talking. But when people are speaking from outside, you know, people who are speaking from exiled position, who have not had the love of their states to come back and help redefine issues in the state, when they are talking of things, when somebody who is not there at the scene of an event is talking of things happening, you pity the person somehow. But I tell you, Anambra State is safe. We are able to take our WAEC, we are able to take our NECO, we take all our exams, children go to school, and because there are 1 or 2 mishaps does not mean that the state is not safe.
Amazing.
Just like in any other place. And somebody is saying, is that why you should put the governor back? because it happens in other states. No, that's not what I mean. The governor merits a comeback. Have you been to Anambra State?
I am from Anambra State, actually, so this is quite an interesting conversation for me.
Fantastic. When did you visit home last?
Oh, I visit home every single year. I'm quite fond of it, especially during the festive periods. But I have to say a big thank you to you,
and
Professor Ngozi Chuma-Udeh.
Your head is still on your neck.
Yes, it is.
You visit home every now and then,
but you would
and
agree
your head is still on your neck comfortably.
You would agree, Professor Ngozi Chuma-Udeh, that I do not represent the average person that lives in Anambra State, and I say that with all humility. So to use me as a yardstick to determine security or safety for the people in Anambra State is...
No.
Is that what you're saying? Am I the yardstick?
I have to say that because you said you're from Anambra State.
And I only visit...
You said you're from Anambra State,
yes.
And I have to ask you, do you come home at all? You say you
so
come
are you saying
like
that
every other person
the
comes
yardstick for testing security in Anambra State is the people that visit home during the festive holiday? What about the people that live there every day, that live there, that work there, that build businesses there? Are you also saying that, you know, maybe their own case might be the same as me, who lives in Lagos?
Kachi, I think I am speaking from Anambra State, from my office in Anambra State. Mm-hmm. And your correspondences are in Anambra State.
Yes.
So we have not carried them away yet, and their heads are still on their necks. Look, you people who are not at home should encourage Mr. Governor to continue to do the good work he is doing.
Well, Professor Ngozi Chuma-Udeh, I have to say...
encourage the brave, he inspires them more. But when from people who have not been there, yes.
Professor, we will do our best as journalists to ensure accountability for every political holder. We have to say thank you now for this very, very interesting conversation. Thank you so much for your time.